kidding around aside, this has been a great day. Thank you all for tuning in to the last panel of the day. This is how to make indie comics. So it's an exciting panel. We're going to go live right now on social media, but I'm going to let them have the whole panel so you guys can film the whole thing. I'm just saying hi. Hello, everybody. You're back here with the Indie Takeover. We're going to go down the line real quick. Just say who you are.
Travis Gibb. I broke down in 4 dead bodies.
David Byrne, I've got the couch.
Terrence Baker, ICC Pink Hammer.
Alfred Page, creator of Chess.
Marcus Roberts, creator of The Protector.
Jeffrey Sheen, the creator of Spirit's Destiny.
For Charcoal El Bandito's Power Hour of Love. Oh yeah!
And now, mine might take a little longer. We have The Fourth Monkey. We have Fetish Babies, which we're renaming because people hate the name and are bad people for it. And they call us Monsters and Jackson Anderson. So that's who I am as a creator, and we're going to talk about how you can create comic books. But you suck for not coming here today, so you don't get to see it on this channel. You have to go to the Power Hour of Love to see the rest of the panel, because they're getting the exclusive, and you're not. All right, guys, so the way that we do the panels are always fun. They're about you guys. So if you have a question, shoot it out. We'll talk about that. We're going to start off introducing ourselves a little more formally than that quick shout out. We're going to start down there with the man, the saint of indie comics.
Saint.
Because when we team up, I'm the devil and he's the saint. And he does 4 dead bodies, so you know what kind of, you know how bad I must be if he's the saint.
Hi, I'm Travis Gibb. I run a production company called Orange Go Productions. Wrote a book called Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies about 2 guys break down on the side of the road. Lots of swearing, lots of violence. If you like Quentin Tarantino type stuff, that's what it is. It's kind of cool. We funded on Kickstarter, and I look forward to talking to you guys.
I'm David Byrne. I own and operate Wind Pictures, which I use to publish The Couch. We've got 4 issues. It's about a psychiatrist who is the exclusive therapist to superheroes, mostly humorous in the vein of The Simpsons and things like that. We also have Stake coming out, which is a new vampire comic, and we're working on a strip for Spider-Man, who is it's described as James Bond meets Bambi, so little different. And you can find me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, Dab282 on Instagram and Twitter, and David A. Byrne Writer on Facebook.
All right. My name is Mr. Anderson. I am the Unboxable Indie Advocate. You guys can find me at MrAnderson.com. I'm also known as the Devilish Indie Creator. I had to create 2 personas to explain what I do, because with Indie Advocates, I'm actually advocating for other people, so people confuse the fact that I'm a creator myself. So I had to make the Devilish Indie Creator kind of persona to promote the fact that I do fetish monsters and more. You guys see I have a large range of titles. I keep creating anything I want, when I want. That's the unboxable part. So follow me at MrAnderson.com and follow Indie Advocates, the global digital comic.
My name is Terrence Baker. I'm the creator of a character called Pink Hammer, and ICC on Facebook, Independent Creators Connection. I'm a comic book artist. I've been drawing for as long as I can hold a pencil. I've been drawing my whole life. Created the ICC on May 23rd, 2013. We had 50 people. Today we got over 9,000 people. Artists, creators, publishers, writers, filmmakers, you name it, and we welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the panel today.
My name is Alfred Page. I'm the creator of Chess. You can find me on Project Chess on the Facebook page, Project Chess. And again, I'm a big fan of comic books since I was younger, and trying to recreate the love that I have for the comic books when I was in school. So that's what Project Chess is all about, the action team comic book. And looking forward to getting the same fans that I had when I was reading the comic books.
My name is Marcus Roberts. I am a freelance writer who happened to write about comic books and comic book related stuff. And after so many years of doing that, I was asked the question, why don't you make a comic book? And my answer was, why don't I make a comic book? So I started writing comic book scripts. My first comic book will be published by Advent Comics. I happened to send them a script, and they said, wow, this is good. If you draw it, we'll publish it. So I had it drawn, and it's being published. It will be released end of this month. The title is The Protector.
Hello, how you doing? I am the creator writer of Spirit's Destiny. is about a Haitian American superhero. I created her to basically something that animates my culture and my persona. So far I have issue 1, and I'm currently working on the other installments of all the other issues. And that's pretty much what I have.
Okay, now before we start the panel, first off, a couple of our panelists have to leave early, so if you have any questions for the 2 fine creators down at the end of the table, please ask them immediately after following this. So things to make this easier for when we're asking Q&A, I took the most asked questions and I wrote them down so I can solve them right away. The first question is there writer's block? No, there is no such thing as writer's block. You don't have worker's block. If you call up your boss and say, hey boss, I'm worker block today, he'll say, sure, you're worker block for the rest of your life, don't ever come back. Treat yourself like an employee and you're going to stop having writer's block. Even if you don't have a great day, writing is like a muscle. Make sure you're constantly working out with it. Speaking of working out, the people who think there isn't enough time in the day to find ways to create, you're lying to yourself because you're watching Netflix, you're doing something else. Treat everything that you do that isn't part of your creativeness, your family, and or your other job, because some of us do have to have 2 jobs, as a reward for getting your creative work done. If you do that, suddenly you'll start getting more creative work done, you'll play less video games. And when it comes to social media, here's my rule about social media for you guys. Treat it like you're talking to someone that you want to impress. Don't treat it like you're talking to someone that you want to argue with. Don't treat it like it's your personal opinion soapbox. You want to do that, go get a job at CNN, they'll hire you, and you can tell your opinions all day online. But most of you who are here are probably here to be creators, and if that's true, and if you're creators on the panel, you shouldn't have a public opinion about politics because you don't want to aggravate a fan base. You don't care who your fans are. You don't pick your fans. You take the money from your fans, you thank them, and you send them on their way with a book that they'll enjoy. You are not here to change the world through your voice. It's through your art. You want to make a change, and you put it in the pages of your comic book. You don't put it anywhere else. And as far as creating, and for the new creators in the room, if you guys are trying to do something, here's my advice to you. Treat what you're about to do as going to the gym. None of you are going to go to the gym today and decide today's the day I get huge like Brock Lesnar and put 450 pounds on a bar, pick it up. So if you do that, you're going to kill yourself. We're going to hear about the Florida man, Florida woman, who killed themselves trying to lift too much weight. The metaphor here is that those pounds on the bar are things you have to accomplish to put them on your bar so you can lift it. Everything is a skill in what we do. It's not a God-given talent. People will tell you, well, I've been an artist my whole life and I'm good at it. Being good as an artist doesn't mean you're good at making panels work. There's a sequence to it. Being able, well, I've always been a creative person. I can't tell you how many panels I go to. Someone raises their hand. Please don't do this in my panels. Excuse me, yes. Should I get a lawyer now? Well, why would you need a lawyer? Because I have an idea and I don't want anyone to steal it before I sell it to the movie studios. Do you have it written out in a book? No. Have you made it a comic book? No. Have you copyrighted it? No. Please leave my room. Seriously, guys, this is about making something that's commercial. It's about making something that's good enough. If you're putting something out that's not good enough and you're trying to sell it, you're going to kill your career. Every one of my books, I will compare to anyone else's book in quality. You might not necessarily agree with the chances I took. You might not like the style of art that was chosen, but I stand behind all of my books and the art that's in them. I stand by the words that I chose to use. And that doesn't mean I don't go back and re-edit some things because I've gotten better at what I'm doing. Doesn't mean the perfect example I'm going to give, and then I'm going to switch to questions for them. I had a book called Fetish Babies. It did really well on the Comic-Con circuit. But when I go to social media or go to Kickstarter, I get the crap kicked out of me nowadays because Me Too has pretty much changed everything. If you have a female character that's dressed in anything that makes her look sexy, you're exploiting women suddenly. If anyone read my book, you'd know I don't exploit women, I empower women, and especially Barbara, who's our main character. The name has just drawn too much attention, and it's negative mostly, so we're going to have to change it. You have to adapt. That's the point of what I'm saying right now. You have to learn. I love the name because Fetish Babies who don't know, because a lot of people are jarred by it, it's meant to be jarred. It's an insult to the main character. She makes a website based on that website to stop people from making the same mistakes as her. I'm tired of going to every Comic-Con to justify why I'm using that name, and instead I'm going to pick a name, and I think we've narrowed it down with the help of my social media friends, which you can use as a tool to get instant feedback, which will wind up becoming Barbara Unleashed. a name that won't get pinged right away for something that isn't what it is, and it'll actually take people to read it to hate it. So there's that, but learn to adapt. You're going to have to make changes on the fly, and it's not always about what you want. The minute you make a comic book for someone to buy, you stop writing it for you. Stop being your biggest fan and start being a creator. And I said this the other day. Someone said, Marcel Dupree, a fellow creator, he said, can a writer write something that they're not a fan of? I was like, sure as hell they can. They're getting paid to. That's their job. You write. If someone wanted me to write a Twilight book, I would write a Twilight book. Someone wanted me to write a Marvel or DC book, I would. It might be my take on it. It might be my uniqueness about it. But if I went under contract and they're like, no, Rob, you have to write it this way, I'm going to write it that way. I'm going to get out of my contract, and when I'm out of my contract, I'm going to bitch and moan about how much I hated being under that contract, and it's over now, and I'm glad I didn't like the story. And that's how every creator winds up doing it. They finish their time, and when people ask, do you like that? They're going to be like, no, I did not like that time. But that's the commitment. We commit to making something for an audience. So we have to, it doesn't mean that you, and my creative friends up here will agree with me, it doesn't mean you cater to people. It means you listen to, if you're here and you're like, I don't need to listen to feedback, you're going to have a short career. You're going to have the shortest career in indie comics, because if you're not willing to listen, even in the dumbest moment of someone saying something, for a perfect example, the Fetish Babies title, everyone goes, well, why would you talk about babies that way? It's not what it is. That would actually be a baby fetish, which is actually a real thing, but it's about adults and not actual babies. But there's confusion there, and the more I heard it, the more it became clear that there was a confusion. As much as I could justify why the title is really, really an important title, it's not worth it right now. I would have to keep climbing a hill to prove myself right about a title. A title that, as the story progressed, became less important, and it became more important to talk about who Barbara is and what she's exposing about the fetish community, both good and bad. So to have this argument that I'm right over you is stupid. So I'm changing the title. It's not going to stop anything. It'll make my books more collectible that are now on the stand that you can go out there and buy. Because now they're collector's items. By all means, prices are about to go up. But seriously, that's it. So if anyone does have a question for two creators down to my far left, please ask them now, because they do have to get to catch a bus.
Hi. So with the transition from being a freelance writer and journalist to just writing a comic book script, how did you make that that leap or that jump? Because I'm finding it myself difficult because I do freelance writing myself, but I want to start working on scripts and things like that to put them together.
For me, I collect comic books as well, and I collect trades. And to fill out space, to fill out pages in the back of these trades, the writers will have their scripts. Some of the artists still have their concept work. But I was reading The Exiles, and the person who was writing this particular series, it was only 5 issues, at the end of each trade had their script. So I noticed how they did their script. And then I was reading, forget the other name, it was like 3 or 4 trades that each writer at the end of the trade had the script for the book at the end of the book. So I saw how they did it. And then I went on my own and I looked up script writing, comic book script writing, and I saw different styles. So I started experimenting until I came up with the style that suits me. Because I can't write like Brian Bendis, only he can. I can't write like Al Ewing, only he can. I can't write like Gail Simone. You know, I have to write like me. But that doesn't mean I can't look at their work process to see how they actually get the words on paper, to see how they actually make their scripts look, and then try to emulate that. So that's what I did.
When you're a writer, you're the director, you're basically telling the artist what you want on that panel.
Well, that's when you're indie. Not to be confused with when you're
When
hired.
indie, when
Yeah.
you're indie.
When you're hired by someone, trust me, they're going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're indie, you're the director. But most of the times, us writers, we tend to let them, pick their camera angles, because I want the artist to have their creative control. When developing a book, the first thing I did do was buy Dirk Manning's Right or Wrong. It really, really broke down how important plots and theme. Like if you don't have one or the other, you're gonna lose your audience, because the plot and theme, they complement each other. Just like strong writing with strong art, they complement each other. So it really does not matter about the art style. As long as you have strong writing and it complements with the art, then you're going to captivate your audience. Like, and when you're writing, you want your audience to keep asking you questions. I still have to this day, people still ask me, why did you do this in issue 1? This is what you want. You want them to keep asking you questions because you're going to keep them curious about what's going to happen in issue 2. Because I still get threatening messages every single day. Where's issue 2? What happened? Why did you do this? You know, but you want that. So when you're writing, think as a reader. You know, you're not only writing for yourself, you're writing for that reader.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good question.
Now, one other thing that I'll say, and they sort of touched upon this as far as writing scripts, you've got to work a lot with your artist. Every artist could be different. I can write every different version of a script. I'm actually kind of lazy when it comes to scripting. I like prose, and then I can break it down when it comes to the artist, but I'll start everything I do in prose. Because breaking it up is such a pain in the butt. Panel here, this is that, panel blah, blah, blah. I can do storyboards, I can do anything I want, but it's what the artist is going to be able to use as a tool, because you're empowering the artist through what you're doing. You're going to have artists who want the ball, meaning the prose. I've had artists, give me the prose, I'll do the rest. And what's your page count? And they'll ask me how many pages I'm willing to invest, because remember, as a writer, we're paying for it. The biggest joke in indie comics is how much does the writer get paid? You know? Yeah, exactly. You know, every artist, and I do this to artist friends every so often just to screw with them. They'll be like, hey Rob, I saw you looking for an artist. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what's your page rate? And they'll be like, oh, it's 125. I'm like, cool, mine's 50. And they'll be like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, well, you gotta pay me $50 so you can do your art. But honestly, we don't. Like she said, we're the director, we're the producer, we're the publisher, we're the editor. And by editor, I don't mean the grammatical error. Only a fool edits their own book. Remember that. Only a fool edits their own book. What I mean by editor is...
Hire editor.
It's Stan Lee editor, the one who decides what goes in there. And you have to do that. Sometimes you're gonna have to say, well, there was a point where Fetish Baby's title was very important between the first and second issue. It was really important. Like she said, I left it at a cliffhanger where I was getting emails. And if you look at my second Kickstarter, I barely promoted it and people showed up. Even with the third one, people were getting a lot of the PDFs. I made a lot of money on PDFs just so people could hear the story. So it wasn't that I didn't build that niche. I got that niche. It was for me, it was the getting fans from indie comic, from Comic-Cons to actually online, which is harder. And we can talk about that later. But
That's a very good point, because one of my books I published a few years ago, I read it over and over like 10 times before I sent it off to publication. And no one else, edited it. I saw it years later, and I looked, oh, there's a spelling error, But I published it that way, and I tell everybody then, I was learning then. So that second help of eyes always helps.
I did the same thing on my first book. My very first book, I self-edited. Now, the funny thing about that is I have edited books professionally. There are novels out now that I've edited for people. But I suck as an editor for my own book.
Because we're doing it for ourselves.
That's it. That's it.
But as you learn, you grow.
I think it's also familiarity.
Yeah.
You're so used to your work, you start skipping.
I had the...
You're like, yeah, that's right, yeah, that's right, yeah, that's right, yeah. I'm awesome!
I had what they call the Kobe Bryant effect. When Kobe Bryant first came in the league, the players around him were so in awe of his skill that they would be standing around watching. I was in such awe at my artist and the work that she was producing.
You can do no wrong.
Every page, my mouth was hanging open like, and I wasn't reading. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't reading, I was watching the action, like, oh man, look at the detail, I should have been reading, paying attention.
But did you know that it's a proven fact, you can write something yourself and not see the error?
Yeah.
But you read somebody else's
You get on that.
work, hey, this is wrong, that's wrong. You can tell them, but it's what you said, it's that self.
Does Kobe Bryant still play baseball? See how steady up? See how I love doing that to sports fans. It's like telling a nerd fan. It's like, does Picard still go on Doctor Who? What?
We learn and we grow.
Well, I think the important for editors that people don't acknowledge, that's really important, is it's not just, spelling and grammar, it's whether or not your story is resonating with When Broke Down came out, the version that's out there, the Noir edition, I sent that out to a lot of people. And they had, you know, a lot of feedback, oh, I like this, or I didn't like the ending, I don't like this. And some of it I really liked, because they're like, this doesn't make any sense, Travis. Awesome, I don't want that to make sense. Like, even though they're giving me feedback that they think is really good, I'm like, good, I don't want that to make sense. That's gonna make sense in issue 3, so you can see whether or not it's resonating. And also, like, the ending, you know, my ending ends at a cliffhanger, but people are like, it's not very strong, but what if and all it took was, okay, adding text, you know, my Broke Down, and I knew it on purpose, you know, it ends on a cliffhanger, but the title for issue 2 is Broke Down in 5 Dead Bodies. That's all you need to say, I didn't need to change the ending at all, I just needed to add that little tagline. They're like, oh, we know what's coming next. Like, so the audience is prepared, the audience is excited, they want to see what's going on. And that's the biggest part of it. And they also, the other part is, like you were saying, you look at the art, it's awesome, it's amazing. But you know, it's that second set of eyes, my wife was looking at it. Hey, this window's supposed to be broken here. Oh yeah, it is supposed to be broken. But it's so pretty. We can't tell her to go do it, it's so pretty.
And sometimes as a writer, you're gonna get art back that's gonna inspire you to change your story. Because that art was better than you. They screwed up and you're like, it doesn't matter, I'm not asking this many times. That's easy. Here we go, erase, change that word, we're good.
You edit a lot, your script, due to the artwork. Sometimes you write a page of 7 panels, writing 6, or you know, or you want to change to a splash. Or the art style kind of dictates the storyline as well. So
If you're paying an artist, you're paying them for what their skill is. And if they're not living up to their skill, you need a new artist.
Yeah.
And if they are living up to the skill, then you need to listen to them and shut up.
And make
that's
sure
important.
they know about good camera angles, because I'm in film school, so I'm very particular on camera angles. That's why you can't just hire any artist. Like, and they have to know how to do sequential art. Like, not the same type of.
yeah, break it up.
You see that all the time. I tell you.
Facial
the same
expressions, stuff
yes.
like that. It can just be the same face. You gotta
Yeah.
put it around your eyes.
Facial expressions is very, very important. I will always have artists do a test page, but always pay them for a test page.
No, I disagree with you. Never pay someone for a test page.
They went ballistic on me.
I don't care. You don't pay for a test page. You wanna know why?
Why?
Tell them not to color, and that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
You wanna see that they're serious. A lot of artists writers get burnt because they pay for that first test page, and they will do their best work. Because they paid for it, and then the second page, they're gonna do less good work. That's like any worker, you hire a person on day 1, they're your best worker, employee of the month. What's day 2 like?
I didn't understand.
Instead, you tell them, give me a free page. And in that moment, you're gonna see what they really do. Because they're gonna be pissed off that they have to do it, and they're gonna either call it in or they're gonna take it serious.
I don't pay for test pages.
Yeah, I will not, I refuse.
That's
You
your
get burnt.
application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. You show me you're worth the job.
I was always
This is
told
the
to
job
pay for a
interview.
test page.
By an artist.
Yeah.
It's like a car dealership tells you need the warranty.
We got it bad, man. We
And
got it bad.
here's the thing with artists, okay? This is the one field with how good you are does determine your pay rate. So when you have a guy who says, I'm really good, see my pinup. Okay, cool, show me your sequence. I don't have sequence. Okay, what's your page rate? $125. Can I get the weed you're smoking? Because you're high. Yeah, if you're not able to, and I have art that's very different. Like for my first book, The Original Fetish Babies, which I have in my book bag, and I'll pull it out and I'll show you guys. The art in here is mind-blowing. Honestly, the way the art looked kind of made me go back and re-edit my story to make it as good as I could because it was that kind of art. So when you get art like that, you're challenging yourself that I have to now do as good, because we would have pages like,
It's more detailed and stuff. Yeah. But
that's a game changer. That changes the art. This is someone who's worth it, right? But then when you go to an art project, I won't show you because I've never published it. The next guy who was supposed to take up after her, that was Satine Zilia from Prague. I couldn't get her back on. She was just too busy. Would never get the cliffhanger I left. I wanted to get the book out because I would lose the audience if I didn't get it out fast enough.
You're getting a lot of information from your questions.
So with that in mind, I had to replace the artist. And the second artist I got gave me a whole song and dance. And he did a free test print, and he was able to pull something off. I didn't like it, and at the time, my ex was still working on the project with me, and I let her be in charge of art. It was a mistake. Never put someone in charge of something that they have not been able to do before, even if they're your significant other. You know, because you're gonna try to get them involved in it, don't. It's not a hobby. If you try to get someone involved who's not ready for that position because she picked poorly and it went bad, the first guy could not do a simple panel with people in a room, and he photoshopped human beings into it from stock photos, and my book is about fetish. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
There are a lot
So
of
you,
artists do that.
but right away, oh, my page rate's 125.
A lot of artists do that. They will get you. So you have to
Shortcut.
make sure
Yeah.
you watch out for that. That's why my editor, she's also an artist. So she can pick out somebody Photoshop anything. She
Mhm.
will call you out. So make sure you get an editor that can, that can really differentiate like everything that they see in the artwork. Because an artist from Nigeria, he Photoshopped, and I paid him 125. But I just took that L. But if I had her, she would have called that out.
And never pay advance. Oh,
Yeah.
if you want to do advance, you do a page
Yeah.
or two.
That's huge.
Page or two, because the more you pay an artist, the lazier they're gonna get.
Yes,
you pay them
that
for
is so
15
true.
pages, they're gonna be like, oh God, you don't understand, everything happens. You pay them 1 page or 2 pages, and they'll come back to you, hey, what's going on? You got the next page? What's going on? I'm going on vacation in 2 weeks. Oh, so we're gonna turn over pages quicker. Let's do this game now.
I feel like some artists, if you're gonna charge me over $100, your turnaround better be quick, because I have had artists that charge me like, $85 for pencil to ink, and I'll get 2 pages within a couple of months.
So you got fired. Honestly, and then take this message from me. If you're paying money, you are now a business owner.
Yeah.
Whether you have the LLC certificate or anything, you're paying someone to do a job, and they're not doing it right away, right out the gate. I have so many friends who come to me, yeah, I'm having trouble with my artist, okay. How many pages did you get done for him? Oh, like 3, okay. How long's it been? 7 months.
That's a
Dude.
whole conversation in itself.
Dude, 3 weeks I fired. Like that guy, the minute he sent me that, it took him 2 weeks to do that, and he had a pregnant wife. And he was going through something with a pregnant wife, and he showed me that, and I had no problem professionally ending our agreement, because he was not. Because in the end of the day, what am I going to do? Put out a book I'm not proud of?
Yeah.
Because I'm worried about hurting someone's feelings? End of the day, I'm not worried about hurting any person's feelings. I don't care if that makes me sound like a bad person. It's just the truth. I'm here to create art. Art should stand for itself beyond my lifespan. If I'm willing to take compromises, and I have with certain of my books, and the compromises I took, I should have never took, but I took it as an art project, and I made compromises I shouldn't have. And now I look back, and I've been called out even by Travis, by the fact that I should have stood up and said more about the art, because I was trying to take a chance with something new. And now I regret it. I know how to fix it, because I'm smart enough to dig myself out of the hole. But you have to be willing to be honest with yourself. I mean, I wish I could have talked to me now 3 years ago. Because I would have told me everything, I would have laid out the things. My friends have inspired me and asked me to write a book, because when they have a problem, they come to me. And I'm good at it. Like, you send me something, I'll tell you what's wrong with it, how to fix it. I have people constantly blowing up my phone. Like, even now, someone's sending me art, going, what do you think about this? Funny story. There are no kids here, so I can tell us. One of my friends is doing, like, more adult books now. And because of the fetish babies, he wants not to go over that line of being smut, but he wants it to be adult, so he asked me my opinion. Is this too far? Have I pushed? So I noticed that he wasn't checking the boobs on all the characters. Like, they were just being resized. It was the same character, different size, different shape. And I'm like, dude, are you paying attention to that with your artist? And he's like, no, should I? I'm like, it's art, right? You want consistency, right? If you keep making them like Barbie dolls, you are going to get to that moment where people are going to be like, dude, you're just doing this to sell now. You're not even keeping the characters the same size. So now I literally have to sit down and have like a half an hour to an hour conversation with possibly his artist about nipple sizes and how boobs should fit on a woman, and not the wrong way a boob should fit on a woman like a Barbie doll, but a real human being. Like, I had to send his art back to his artist, because I was like, that's not a woman, that's a problem, that's cancer. You know, that's cancer and it's bad, and she needs to have the doctor look at it. And that's how I put it to him.
They're very anatomy.
And
Yeah.
boobs will get you.
Yeah.
Boobs will get you when it comes to art.
I need to make her say
You
something.
can
And
tell
hands.
you,
Yeah,
and
hand
get
on
you,
God, hand.
because we as men take for granted that there are women readers, there are women fans, there are women out there who are just as crazy about comic books as we are. So if you have a character that wears armor, and she's got 38D chest plate. That is not realistic.
Just imagine her fighting. Yeah, she's like a T-Rex fighter. Yeah.
It's like she's got 100 pounds of armor just in her chest because you've drawn the boobs so big, and the armor has to. That's not realistic. Even if you got an armored character, they're going to be armored.
I have to say this though, in all actuality, my character, the Pink Hammer, when I first came out with her, you know, she's a very beautiful looking, very voluptuous woman. I base it on my life, okay? And in the early scene, in convention scenes, a lot of women would come up to me, hey, that character is too sexy, why does she have to look like this? And I had to explain to him, you know, the character doesn't always look like this. This is just one cover. But you learn as you go. I progressed, I changed the look. But I tell every person that asks me that, my mom can read this book, my sister can read this book, and my aunt can read this book. This is a great story. And it's about the empowerment of women for this character. And you know, after they read it, they say, okay, I got it now. But the way she looks, and a lot of people are prejudging. That's something else you're going to have to encounter. But if you cater to a larger audience, you listen to them, and you grow. And you are willing to change, just like Rob said, you know. For the
And
masses.
there is a difference here, and I want to stress this. There's a way to empower women to make her look sexy. Women like to look sexy. They like to feel beautiful. And then there's a way to make a woman trashy. And I've had trouble with my male artists. Whenever I've worked with a male, Damien has been the best to respond to it. But one of the first things Damien did, our third book, one of the first things Damien did was make Barbara's waist very small. Anyone who's read my book has seen Barbara's a full-figured woman. She's not overweight in any way, but she's a real woman. I love the fact that we made a real woman represented in this book. She was beautiful, she could look sexy, and she knew she was beautiful. There was a bit of an arrogance to her character on purpose. But when he came in, it was that very small, and there's even a piece that we used for some promotion, his earlier work, where her stomach is so thin. I let it go because it was promotional. It was never meant to be anything serious in the canon. But I remember having to talk with him, going, you can't do this anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, she's a real woman. You know a real woman like that? You know, like, no, she couldn't breathe. There would be no ribs there, you know? Like, and you gotta, as a creator, you have to be responsible for making sure that you're not allowing your artists to make women feel uncomfortable. Because you want to invite that audience, and you want to be like, you know what, I respect women, and this is how I'm going to show I'm going to respect women, by representing them the right way. And I'll go back to this. Every guy in here is like, I don't get what the big deal is. Bullshit. When Batman showed his wang, every guy went, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. Why would you show a penis? It was like guys became suddenly aware that the way they're represented in comic book could be cheap. And they were suddenly disgusted by it. I cannot believe this. Every woman turned around and went, what? What? Like, right? As a woman, you were like, what are you crying about? You know what women have been through for like 100 years of comic books? This is the first penis to hit a DC comic and you're all losing your mind.
That's
Did
actually
choke me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Dr. Manhattan was first.
Yeah.
But he didn't really matter. Honestly, he didn't. No one said anything when that happened. You're right, it was first, but it wasn't mainstream when he did it.
Batman.
I don't know if you saw the movie, you got a lot of people.
But I'll tell you, Travis called me up and he was there like, you know what? He was like, and to credit to Travis, he's like, this is your moment for fetish babies. He's like, you go show the world what DC did and said, why can't I do the same thing, but in a tasteful way? So it's true. You know, we all have to grow up a little bit and treat people like human beings. I have no problem with that comic, as long as I knew it wasn't for kids. At first, I was like, wait a minute, is this like his monthly regular title? Because I had a problem with the Batman. I wrote Fetish Babies, and I'm about to say this. I had a problem with Catwoman and Batman having sex on a rooftop without a condom. I thought it was the wrong message to send to children. This was a book that children could buy.
An 8-year-old, he could just walk into the drugstore and buy that.
And I was upset. It was so graphic. And what happened to shadows? You can show things in a shadow. You can imply things. And we were talking about this in the last panel, how you can imply things between the panels. You could have easily done this. But no, this was like graphic to the point where I think I'd have trouble putting it in my own comic that's about sexuality. That was how graphic that moment was. Like, I think she's leaning back and her mouth is open. And it looked like something that belonged in anime. If there's an anime fan in the room, I'm sorry, but that's what you guys like. You know, that's anime to me.
What you mean, you guys?
Right? You guys and girls who like anime. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, the Kevin Smith.
That was a long.
I enjoyed all of it. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. Any other questions for the creators?
I got a quick question I'd love for you guys to answer too. But for everyone, what's the most important thing to get started? Because there's a lot of people that say, I have a great idea, I want to do a comic, I want to do this stuff. What is the first thing everyone should
I
do?
work on plot.
Yeah?
I work on plot and then I work on the theme. Yeah. So, without those, like, I cannot execute a great story. That's what most people lack in, because either they're lacking plotting, or the theme. So that's the most important thing when it comes to writing a comic book.
Just being able to tell a story, because everyone has different gifts, and we know this. And the ability to tell a story is a gift, and everyone can't do it. So you have to know that you can tell a story. You know, I know some artists who are fabulous. They are out of this world, but they try to write their own comics, and their comics actually lose something because they are gifted artists,
But not good story.
but not gifted writers. So, and you know, they have to recognize that within themselves. They have to know the limitations, know the strengths and limitations. I'm not an artist. I could draw a stick figure and you still couldn't tell what it is. But you can tell me in 10 words, do this character. And in 10 words, I can write something so beautiful about this character until you're going to ask me to write 10 more. And then ask me to write 20 more. And then ask me to write 40 more without me having to draw anything. Because that's what my gift is.
To your point, I mean, as writers, we have to lure you in. Even if, like, with the pace of my book, a lot of people are like, oh, I read the first couple pages, I have to read the rest of it, I have